So we've got no UFC action coming this weekend. We've got to wait till the following week till we see Derek Lewis take on Talison Teixeira at UFC Nashville. So I thought in the meantime, we'd have a little look at what we just saw at UFC 317. Now, kicking off the whole card, we had Alvin Hines taking on Yonata Denise. And Alvin took this fight on short notice, I believe 18 days. And he had quite a backstory in his journey into MMA. And in this fight, he showed a lot of grit, showed a lot of determination. He pressured Yonata the whole time. But unfortunately, he came up short. So I hope the UFC will give this guy another opportunity to show maybe what he's fully capable of with a full camp. Now, following up from that, we had Jacoby Smith, still undefeated, 29 years of age. He got the job done. He got the submission over Nico Price. Be interesting to see where this lad's career can really go. And then we had Terrence McKinney. Terrence McKinney's always entertaining, and this one, he didn't disappoint. He came in, he got the submission, got Slava Claus down early, and got the job done rapid. Gotta love a bit of Terrence McKinney, let's be honest. And then I want to touch on two fights. So I was backing, I believed Hyder Emil was going to be quite explosive, bit too powerful for Jose Delgado. And boy, was I wrong. Jose Delgado got the job done early and knocked Hyder Emil out. And then speaking of being knocked out, poor Jack Hermansson. So Gregory Rodriguez, Robocop, absolutely sparked Jack Hermansson out, and that's putting it lightly. It was quite scary at moments. The commentary team was saying, and he's still out, he's still laid out, he still hasn't woke up. And thank God, Jack Hermansson, he finally woke up, and according to UFC updates, you know, he was cleared, he was okay, and he was cleared to go home. So that is the main thing. But what a shot from Robocop. Absolutely slumped him, caught him, landed the shot, dropped him, and he really didn't need them follow-up shots. I'm with Joe Rogan on this one. Joe Rogan said he doesn't think they were necessary whatsoever. Now, Jorge Masvidal would beg to differ, but Robocop, read the room, lad. The geezer was spark out on the canvas. It was clear to see he wasn't getting back up. But anyway, either way, it's not his job to, you know, walk off and stop the fight. He fought until Herb Dean finally got there and finally pushed him away. And then onto the main card. Peyton Talbot bounced back against Felipe Lima. It looked like for the most part that Felipe Lima didn't like the feeling of however them punches were landing on him, and he was trying to take Peyton Talbot down, but Peyton Talbot was just a little bit too strong for him. It looked like he was a bit too strong, and every time he could either stop the takedown, or he could get back up, or he could reverse position and land his own ground and pound on Felipe Lima. And then we had Beneil Dariush, and he put on a dominating performance against Renato Moicano. Moicano just looked like he didn't really know what to do against Beneil Dariush, and I was quite surprised. So all props to Beneil Dariush. It looks like Moicano is now going to be sort of on the decline. Because this fight, both guys, you know, 36, 37 years of age. One of them is going to continue and try to climb the ladder and potentially, maybe at one point, get a title shot, their last little run at a potential title shot. And the other's going to, unfortunately, never going to maybe see that opportunity again. And it's Beneil Dariush who's on the upwards trajectory at this point. And Renato maybe going to fight an up-and-comer at some point. And then Joshua Van against Brandon Royval. What a fight, let's be honest. Going into the third round, I had it one apiece. So that last round, it was really a coin flip. I was watching it like, who is going to get the nod on this? We could see some wild scorecards, some proper split decision stuff going on. I was going to imagine was going to happen. And right at the end, Joshua Van lands the shot and drops Brandon Royval. And that really sealed the deal. Even when the fight was over, it looked like Royval was a bit staggered. He looked like he didn't really know what was going on. He flipped, and from what it looked like, he said something like "fuck this" or "oh, for fuck's sake." That's what it looked like he did. So it looked like he knew that that last shot that landed on him really was going to cost him the fight, and that's correct. Which leads us on to the co-main event, because the winner of that fight was getting the next title shot, and boy, it was Joshua Van, the 23-year-old. So now, Alexandra Pantoja, dominating performance, made easy work of Kai Kara France. Let's be honest, he showed why he's the champion. He showed why he's levels above the competition at this moment. He shows why he is the guy who's building a legacy as a UFC flyweight champion. And that is what he did. So now we're going to have Joshua Van stepping up to take him on next. Let me know how you think that fight is going to play out. I said it before the Brandon Royval fight. think that's a step too far for Joshua Van. When you think 4 weeks ago, Joshua Van wasn't even ranked. Then he fought Bruno Silva 3 weeks ago, got the job done. That got him into the rankings. He takes this fight on short notice against the number one guy in the UFC flyweight division. The number one contender gets the job done, and now he's getting a title shot. It is crazy, and I'm here for it. And then on to the main event. Ilia Topuria. What a guy. Like, seriously. Walks in, he's knocked out Volk, knocked out Max, vacates the belt, jumps up a division, and then sparks Charles Oliveira in round 1. And he called it as well. Props to him. There's not much else to say. He just made easy work of it. He looked controlled. He looked calm in there. He looked like he could see everything coming. He looked like he was just beaming with confidence. He looked like I walked in and he thought, well, it's time to get it done. I know what I'm going to do. So let's just do it. and then, and that he did. And yeah, then Paddy gets into the octagon. They have their little moment there back and forth. It looks like that's the fight that's going to be put together next. Poor Arman Tsarukyan can't get a look in. He blew his chance when his back went against Islam. And he weighed in as the backup fighter for this fight. And it looks like he's just going to get overlooked for Paddy. And that is what happens. The UFC is a business at the end of the day. And Paddy, he has eyeballs on him. He brings viewers. And he brings entertainment. Whilst Arman is kind of, unless you follow the sport, not a lot of people will know about him. So, and maybe also the UFC is looking at it from this perspective of Arman is a dangerous guy. He's a talented, skilled fighter. Maybe they're looking at it from the perspective of, if we give this fight to Arman Tsarukyan and he beats Ilia Topuria, then we've lost the opportunity to make this fight between him and Paddy, which has been, in the making for quite some time now. These two had their back and forth, what do you call him? Hand sanitizer boy, when he bounced the hand sanitizer bottle off Ilia's head, and they had that little moment backstage. So, yeah, this fight has been in the making. So, if, let's say, Arman beats Ilia, then Ilia's no longer the champion. This fight isn't going to have as much... It's not going to generate as much money if it's not headlining a pay-per-view, if they just made it a main event on a fight night, or if it was just like the featured bout of a pay-per-view, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, maybe they're just looking at this is the time to make it, and then, yeah, Arman might get the shot afterwards. But I was looking at it beforehand that, even though that makes sense, I thought maybe Paddy should fight someone. And when I was looking at the rankings, a lot of people are matched up. And the only real fighters I thought that would have made sense is like Dan Hooker and Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje still believe like ranked number 2. And I think Dan Hooker's ranked number 6. So I thought if he beat one of them, then he's worthy of a title shot on merit. But we know that's not always how the UFC works. It doesn't always go off who's the most deserving. It's someone who's relatively deserving, but also brings more eyeballs. So let me know how you think these fights are going to play out. Any matchups from following this card that you'd like to see, regardless of maybe the main and the co-main. But yeah, how do you think Ilia Paddy will go? How do you think Pantoja versus Joshua Van will go? And yeah, like I said, any other fighters who you'd like to match them up with, like to Peyton Talbot, Beneil Dariush. Even if you was to give Alvin Hines another shot, where do you see these fighters going in their careers? Yeah, so make sure you like, drop me a comment, and also subscribe to the page. Peace.